Hi, and welcome to ThreatTraq Essentials, where every week we take a look at the everyday cybersecurity lessons that we can learn from this week's ThreatTraq stories. I'm here with Andy Benavides. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you.
You're on the show this week. First, let's talk about the story Ganesh brought to us. That was about Tomcat and a vulnerability in Tomcat. What is Tomcat exactly?
It's server software that's built by Apache, which is a company that builds a lot of different types of softwares. But you can essentially, what Tomcat allows you to do is build a website. Host a website, I should say, because a website is different from actually serving it. So, on the internet, when you visit a site, say, it could be served by Apache Tomcat. And all that means is the files that you need to actually see the website, the pictures, the boxes and the tables and everything, those are files, and they could be sitting on an Apache Tomcat server, physically sitting.
So this is software that's used probably everywhere. Right?
It's
very widespread.
It's very
this
common.
is a vulnerability in it that goes back a long way. It's been dormant for a while and been discovered. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so this particular type of vulnerability actually that the researchers have discovered affects all versions of Tomcat. Usually when this happens, a vulnerability is discovered, say, in the latest version of whatever the software is. In some cases, and in this case, that vulnerability actually existed and exists in all previous versions as well.
This goes way back.
So this goes way back, which is a problem because it affects a lot more Apache Tomcat servers than just the latest ones. So
if someone has a business or a website and is using this software, what do they need to do?
Well, you need to upgrade. You need to upgrade. So whenever there's a vulnerability, the company that owns the software, that makes that software, in this case Apache, they issue what's called a patch. And what that does is it changes the code on that software to make that vulnerability no longer an issue. It doesn't let anyone exploit that vulnerability to do bad things. So in this case, Apache has issued a patch. So if you have a server running, you should patch that server.
Let's talk about the story Jaime talked to us about, which is what he's been seeing in his research in phishing emails that are centered around exploiting people's fears and their sense of urgency around the coronavirus. Tell me about that.
Yeah, some of the research that Jaime and his team have been doing has been showing that there's been a lot of activity around phishing emails sent to organizations and people that are using the coronavirus as a means to get you to click on a link or to click to download something.
And we see that a lot, right? Whenever there's a natural disaster or a terrorist attack, there will be bad actors who capitalize on those bad events through phishing emails.
Certainly, it's a very common tactic with phishing emails to prey on your sense of fear and sense of urgency. And in this case, the fear and urgency can come from something like a global pandemic.
So what advice do you want to give people when they see emails that are related to the coronavirus? What should they be suspicious of? What should they do or not do?
Well, you should always check to see who sent you that email. It's very easy to check who the sender is, and if it's something like CNN.com or Fox.com or something, those are pretty legitimate. But if it's not something that you recognize, it's probably not okay. Probably the best advice I can give is slow down. If you're feeling fearful or something is urgent and it kind of scares you, slow down, take a beat.
That's probably a sign right there.
Correct.
If an email is making you feel this sense of urgency or fear,
Correct.
It's a good chance that that's the button it's trying to push.
Most legitimate emails don't want you to fearful. They don't want you to feel fearful. They just want to give you some information. So if an email is trying to play on that fear, that's likely an indication that it's got some nefarious purposes going on.
And you brought us a story about TrickBot and ActiveX. Tell me what that was all about.
So TrickBot is a banking malware that's used to steal things. And the story that I was talking about today was involving TrickBot, but a new module that was added onto TrickBot. So malware can grow, it can change, it can increase its feature set and the things that it can do. And today's story was talking about how TrickBot, this particular malware, actually is using kind of new features within Windows 10 to run its malware. So in this case, TrickBot is actually using what are called ActiveX controls. ActiveX is sort of how programs within the Microsoft Windows operating system kind of talk to each other, if I can boil it down to a very basic level. And in this case, Windows 10, because it's constantly being updated, was updated with a number of new ActiveX controls. And what we're seeing is TrickBot is actually using one of those ActiveX controls as sort of a trigger to run its malware and download more malware onto a machine.
So really, new features in any software can always have the potential to bring new vulnerabilities. So, what do we do about that?
Well, it's difficult because updates are becoming more and more of a thing. We update our apps on our phone daily. It seems like there's just updates everywhere. So what we can do about that is it actually goes back to the advice that we give for phishing emails, because TrickBot is delivered via phishing emails. So there's not much you can do in terms of a normal person as far as like new features and whatnot up to Windows 10. Keep abreast on the new things that are going on, be interested in security news. That's always going to be very helpful. But if you're not a security researcher, you're not actively looking to find these vulnerabilities and to find these new tactics that malware is using, the advice is going to fall back to, don't click on emails that you don't know who sent them to you. Don't click on links. If you do open a document from an email that seems strange, usually it'll ask you to what's called enable macros. Don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
We say that all the time.
Yeah, it's very rare that a legitimate email would actually use macros. That's a very old technology that it's just not used legitimately all that much anymore.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being here, Andy. And thank you for watching ThreatTraq Essentials. Remember to like and subscribe. And also, if you want to learn more about any of these stories, click on the playlist below. And we'll see you next time.